All right, folks, very warm welcome to Steve Vitolo, founder CEO of Scriptation. Steve, a pleasure to have you today and talk to Vitrina about what Scriptation does and how the story sort of started and where the solution is right now. Your voice is going across to 72,000 leaders and supply chain experts in our community as part of the Vitrina community. And one of the key aspects that we typically do is we love innovative companies that are really breaking the mold and sort of creating new solutions within the entertainment supply chain. So, and again, Scriptation was on our radar. Thank you for agreeing to do this interview today with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, right up front, if you can start at the elevator pitch. When you introduce Scriptation, how do you typically present it to someone who's actually in an elevator with you?
Okay, sure. Well, if you're on a production, your director, producer, cinematographer, anyone that gets a script, well, what happens when you get a 60-page script? You make a bunch of notes on it, right? You spend hours and hours making notes, and then you're all set to go, and then a new script revision comes. What do? You panic, say, how am I going to, recopy and rewrite all that notes? Well, Scriptation does that for you. Scriptation allows you to make notes digitally via PDF annotations. And then when a new version of a script comes out, we can automatically transfer notes from the first draft to the second draft and so on.
Wow. Fascinating. And, I'm guessing that this is a tablet solution. How do people sort of interact with Scriptation?
Yeah. So Scriptation is an annotation app that you could download. It's on the Apple ecosystem. So you could download it on the Apple App Store for iPad, iPhone, and also on Mac. Similar to Adobe, where you just download the Adobe app and then you bring in your PDF file and you start making notes on it. And Scriptation is designed specifically for film and TV production. So we have a lot of other features that are useful for users. So we built our business on making notes and then transferring them into new drafts. But we also have a bunch of additional features like lining tools for script supervisors. And we have line learning tools for actors, which we came out recently. We found that a lot of people were tagging in Scriptation because they heavily annotate in Scriptation and then going to another piece of software to manually input that data. So we have tagging now in Scriptation where you can automatically export your tags into other pieces of software. So we're, the Adobe, but for, specifically film and television. So what you want to do, we're trying to do for you.
Fascinating. And I'm curious about the story actually, Steve. How did you sort of start on this journey? And was it a personal pain point that you were sort of experiencing? Talk us a little bit about the journey itself.
Yeah. So my background is a writer's assistant, script coordinator, writer. So I've worked in writer's rooms for like 15 years. I've written some episodes of television. I've written a feature, but primarily when I was working in the business, I was working as a script coordinator. So on television shows, there are multiple revisions of a script, all the way from the writer's draft to like a goldenrod revision. So as a script coordinator, I was the one that was distributing the documents. And I would, when there were a lot of changes, you try not to put out too many changes, but you can't, it's up to the writer.
Yeah.
The thing that I could do is try and minimize some of the smaller like changes that didn't need to go out as pages. Because when you put out a page, a lot of people were like, okay, great. So I got a page. It changed one word, right? Because of a clearance issue. And now I have to rewrite all of my notes on that page or, put in that other page. So it was just confusing. But the spark was when I was on a multicam network comedy and we were putting out a 50-page script, which, unlocked pages, just a 50-page script every single night. And it was just an incredible amount of wasted paper. And also just people's time. They were notating the script that was then obsolete the next day and they'd have to rewrite their notes. So every single day I was distributing a 50-page script to 100 plus people that was being printed. So over 5,000 sheets of paper every single day. And then you'd print an extra like 5 or 10 copies that like 2 people would take. So you'd have, 8 copies of the 50-page script that's just gone, hopefully recycled.
Right.
So I knew there was an issue with all this. It came a little bit from an environmental, perspective. Like, what are we doing? Like, we're
Right,
just
right,
wasting
right,
so much paper. And then I thought, well, if we could move notes from draft to draft, if I could figure that out, we can get people to go digitally, save a bunch of paper, and then save a bunch of people time.
right,
Because as much as you could say, there's an environmental savings and get people to, move over because of the sustainability aspect of it,
right.
there has to be a productivity aspect of it too. So you have to save people time. So I was able to kind of marry those two things, and just that one feature, transferring notes, could save people hours, an episode.
Right. Fascinating. And again, I mean, some of the best ideas in terms of its as they come out are from a sort of personal experience that essentially has affected your own sort of progress. So that's fascinating actually, Steve, to just understand about how your personal experience led this entire journey. Walk us through, when does this journey start for Scriptation as a platform or an app, and how that's evolved in the last few quarters. I know there's been a lot of technological development with Gen AI and some of these new aspects that have been added to our tech stack. But when
Yeah.
does the real app development start?
Yeah. I mean, so you're asking when people start using scriptation, or sort of on the development side?
Well, when did you start developing this as a
Oh, it's
platform?
actually been around quite some time.
Okay,
I started that show was in 2013. I actually incorporated in 2013, but I was working in the business at the same time, so it was a kind of a side business,
got it, got it.
where I met up with a developer, and could we solve this problem?
Right.
And the problem was, can we move notes from one draft to the next? So it was this, I didn't fully go into it until 2018, when I left my job, went full time.
Wow.
And I don't know if you remember, but that was around, like, there was a point where Apple did not have subscriptions, and everybody just thought that you could download an app and it should be 99 cents.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
there wasn't really money to be made there. So, we launched Scriptation in 2016. I
Okay.
did it full time in 2018, and then we became a subscription around that same time.
Okay.
And that's when it sort of really became a business. But Scriptation is 99% offline. So, like, the place we are in the workflow is we receive, our biggest competition at this point is paper, receiving the script. So we receive PDF scripts and allow users to mark them up and annotate them in any way that they want to. It's yours, everyone on set is getting a script, and they all have their own jobs, and it's what notes are relevant to you. You want
Right.
to make notes and then have those notes carry forward as you keep getting revisions, because it's hectic enough as it is. So if we can sort of help you with that process and relieve some of the pain and some of the time that it makes to, having a better show. Like, we've had directors say it has saved them, 5 to 10 hours a week. And that means a better output. They don't have to spend time like with this, tedious task of rewriting their notes. They could set up a shot better. They could think of some
Right.
better ideas. Or we've had someone say, like, I could also go see my kids at home. So,
Right. Right. Right.
we're a big time saving part. Like, that's sort of the crux, and like why a lot of people use us for this productivity and time saving.
Fascinating. So environment, productivity, time saving, efficiency, just speed. So again, if you can walk us through a little bit about just how does Scriptation then come into workflow?
Sure.
Um, who's the person who's usually tasked to upload the PDF, and then who's on the
Yeah.
collaboration circuit, right? Who's
Yeah, good
collaborating
question.
with them?
So we're mostly, since I came from episodic TV, and I built this because, of all the script revisions. So, like, for example, one of the first shows Scriptation was used on widely. I mean, Scriptation is mostly a direct to consumer, right? So you have an iPad, you go to the App Store, you download it, you pay for the subscription, and you're in, that's it. But one of our biggest clients was Game of Thrones.
Oh wow!
And that, that's the way it tends to be, where
Oh
we
wow!
get either, we have Game of Thrones, Succession, Saturday Night Live are our big
And like
clients.
these are multi-starter, such complex scripts
Yeah.
right there, right? So even
But
the
think
speed.
of think of Game of Thrones. We were told by the person that, bought us, it was a production manager or production supervisor. They said Scriptation saved us last season. We had over 100 revisions of a script. And that wasn't an exaggeration. She
Wow.
said, like, literally from the first draft to the final draft, there was
Jeez.
100 revisions. Now, that's an extreme case. That's a Game of Thrones case. But traditionally, when you're on a show, there could be easily 5, 10, 15 revisions of a script.
That's right.
So now where we fall into this production workflow is writer's office writes the script, they're ready to publish it and send it out, right? So that first thing that goes out to, let's say, production could be the table draft. That script, like, it's done, it gets sent out as a PDF, and it can go out in a few different ways. So the traditional way was email and printing, right? That's the
Yeah.
traditional way.
That's right.
It's still emailed, it could go through some other services. So generally, the script coordinator, or let's say the production coordinator, will upload the script to a service that then sends it out. And there's a few of these out there. Yamdo is one of the services that will send out scripts. So the script will get sent out either as a PDF attachment, or sometimes if it's super secure, it'll be sent out as a link, but generally gets sent out as a PDF attachment. And what the users will do is they will take that PDF and they will import that into Scriptation, and they will act like it's a paper script. If you're at production meetings, instead of pens and papers and highlighters and markers and paper scripts, people are there with iPads and Apple Pencils. If you're on set, instead of walking around with paper scripts, they're walking around with iPads and pencils, and most likely they're using Scriptation. And that's where we want to be. So we want to view, pen and paper as our biggest competitor still. People are just so stuck in their old ways of doing things, even if, there's such a value add here, but, you can't change everyone's mind. You can just try and build the best product and hope that, it will spread. And that is kind of how it spread.
Wow.
I did this on the side, and basically you have one person on an iPad, script revision comes, they hit a button, they're ready to go in 5 seconds. And other people are fumbling around with paper trying to figure it out. And they're like, well, what did you just do? And then you convert those people, and
Right.
then that show gets canceled, which was always a show that I was on. But
Right.
then, those 5 people, like 2 people went here and then 1 person went there. And then so Scriptation really spread without any marketing dollars, just that
Fascinating.
way. So yeah, there's just it's such a, big value add for the user.
Right.
And that in part, everyone has the script. So, and everyone's making their own notes. So, that's sort of where we fit into that workflow.
Fascinating. Oh gosh, I've got so many questions. So the one element which was super curious coming into this meeting was relating to, is there like a shorthand? Are there codes that people are writing when you sort of, reading their notes and the annotations? And is it just for self-consumption, or are your annotations also being referenced by others
Yeah, good question. Yeah, mostly it's people's notes for themselves.
for themselves?
However, we do have some collaboration features that
Okay.
other shows use. So if you ever use Photoshop, you're familiar with Photoshop layers. So Scriptation has layers in a PDF where you can take layers of notes. So people have done that in the past based on meetings. So if they're at like a production meeting or a tone meeting or a table read, they'll make notes based on the meeting in different layers. But people will also share notes with each other. So imagine, you have 2 people, you have a director and a DP,
Right.
and they have a bunch of notes. Well, previously you'd have 2 paper scripts and they'd be going back and forth, or you'd have 2 PDF documents and you'd have to be referencing. Well, now we have a layer system where you can overlay the notes. So you can
Oh,
toggle quickly between the notes and you can
right.
see each other's notes. The feature we built for Saturday Night Live is we call live layers. And it's not quite real-time collaboration because I, you know, I don't think that they're your notes, so you don't want them automatically populating. But when you're ready to send your notes to somebody else, you can
Right.
push your notes and they'll get a notification that your notes are there, and then you could download them and then you could see them. Because
Got it.
again, like in this business, like the notes are generally your notes, but if you want to share them, you can go ahead and then push those notes to somebody else if you want. So you could join groups and join teams,
Okay.
and that's sort of the collaborative aspect of it. But it's not real time. It's just when you want to send those notes out.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Fascinating. And then, if the script has changed dramatically, then does it constantly sort of have to adjust for which annotations were for which parts of the script?
Yeah. So we, have a very sophisticated set of transfer algorithms at this point
Okay.
that we've since improved on and built out. Um, It recognizes the text, it maps where it is on a PDF. We have, a scene analysis. So we're doing this basically extracting all PDF data. But yeah, so if there are large shifts, if a scene moves from one part of the script to another part of the script, we can identify that. We can move your annotations over to that part of the script. So we've worked on that. And surprisingly, of all of our support requests, that is pretty low. So we've done a pretty good job at being able to map out where the annotations go from revision to revision. There's always improvements, of course. It's a heuristic algorithms, that we're using. So we're constantly improving it. We pushed a big improvement last year. We're constantly improving our text recognition and scene recognition data. All we're getting is the PDF at this point. So we have to parse that script.
That's right.
So yeah, it's just an ever evolving process, but we think we like to say we're the best in the business at doing that.
Right. Fascinating. And again, I know PDF comes with its own complexities, in terms of readability at times, and how it's been uploaded, whether it was converted from a document or a photograph, right? I mean, I'm sure those would have been problems that you had to solve as part of the tech stack.
I mean, definitely. I mean, currently, we don't use OCR. We're talking about it a little bit.
Okay.
Even if we did use OCR, it's tough. It's still, even with all the AI, but generally users are not getting flattened documents. And if they are, they tell someone, hey, don't send me the flattened document.
Got it. Got it.
Send me. So pretty much, every PDF that's generated in any sort of screenwriting software has text that is readable.
Right.
And any document distribution software generally watermarks it in a way that it's a vector and we could filter out these watermarks.
Understood. Understood. And then the other set of questions I had was relating to how intuitive is the app itself? Do you have to do formal training, or people can just pick it up? Just
The
how does
goal,
that happen?
the goal is no formal training.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's a challenge, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you make it at this point? We've got a lot of different features, and we'll get customer requests that's like, why aren't you doing this thing? And we say, well, we are doing this thing, and it's right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's certainly a challenge to walk people through. When we open the app now, we ask them what they are, like what they do, what their job is, and we try and customize their toolbar. We have some guided tours for certain things. We have quick start guides. So, we're trying to do as much as we can, but yeah, it's an evolving thing, and we're always sort of chasing like what's the trend and what's the next thing and what people are used to. Do they want to see videos? Do they want guided tours?
Got it.
We're noticing even if we give them a guided tour, we're getting a 50% skip. People just don't want the tour. I understand it. Sometimes I don't want the tour either,
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a constant challenge. I'm sure every, software developer runs into that.
That's right. That's right.
If you have any tips, open.
No. So look, I mean, towards the end of this discussion, if you want to like do a couple of minutes of just open the app, you can screen share, and that could be fun for a lot of folks who are dialing in from different countries and markets as well. Because I'm sure you're sort of looking at expanding this into new territories and new countries. I don't know if you get requests already. How's that?
I
Currently?
mean, the best part of being available in the App Store is that you're automatically available in
That is
every
right.
country. We're localized in a few different language. I mean, we're available everywhere. We're localized in Spanish, Portuguese, and French. But yeah, we are available everywhere. And 40% of our business is outside of US and Canada.
Oh, wow.
So, generally the English speaking countries, Australia, New Zealand, the UK has a big film industry. Germany is up there, Brazil. I would say, the challenge for us at this point is that we are Apple only.
Okay.
And for example, in a lot of Latin American countries, they just don't have Apple devices. There's been a lot of talk about going to Android, challenging and a little bit of a headache. And I don't know how much I want to take doing a native Android app on. I have some ideas on, sort of a light version of the app that we could do on Android, just to sort of experiment.
Yeah.
I would say we're at this point, yes, we'd love to get everywhere, but we're limited by the technology just because they don't use Apple devices. Like even in, we are used in Brazil, but still it's Android. Brazil has 200 million people in it and they have a big film industry. And
Yes.
we know that there's a need,
Yes.
but most people are on Android devices. So, that's been a challenge.
Understood. Understood. No, again, since you're already into, you said Portuguese, Spanish, and French,
Portuguese, Spanish, and French at the moment. Yeah.
besides English. Got it. Got it. And those are critical languages actually. So that's awesome. And then the other question which I had was relating to user groups. So what kind of different groups of users do you see using the app?
So our mostly we are on episodic television.
Okay.
And in terms of who uses us the most, just through polling, it's mostly directors, cinematographers, producers, script supervisors, writers, assistant directors.
Okay.
Basically, did I say writers? And whoever makes the most notes on a script. Like think about whoever makes the most notes on a script. Like that's our user.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Fascinating. And then just from a workflow perspective, not sort of taking anything from other systems, you are essentially taking the PDF which is uploaded.
Yeah, it's just the PDF.
But then where do you have to port data into? Do you have to port data into any other systems downstream? Or
yeah, so we're working on that. So we have some connections right now. So we work with. So we want to be the app that ingests PDFs from wherever they are sent, right? So that's where we want to be. We just did an integration with an app called Shot Lister, which is also an iOS app. And a Mac catalog, and our integrations, it's really cool. It will take the data from Scriptation, you can export it, and then it updates through revisions in Shot Lister. So it updates your shot list through revisions. So previously this was just manually entered in Shot Lister, and now it's automatically there and updated throughout revisions. So Scriptation.
What's the use case? I wasn't sure about the use case.
So the use case, if you're a director, whoever is making your shot list, what you would use Shot Lister, you would manually enter all of this scene information, enter your shots. This is a close up. Look, I'm not a director, so I can't go into like too specifics about the directors, but you would manually enter all this information in Shot Lister, and now all that manual entry is gone. You can export from Scriptation. We create a JSON file that goes into Shot Lister, and then it gets updated throughout the revisions. So when your notes move over in Scriptation, we say, hey, it's time to update Shot Lister. And then you can automatically export that Shot Lister export, and then it will update via deep link. We have a video. I can send you a link, but it's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I Scriptation just joined the Movie Labs 2030 vision.
That's right.
So about being interconnected systems. So I'm all for that. My stance is we have a bunch of data that users would love to export. So tell me how to do it. That's what I say to them. It's like, we're doing it right now. We do it with Shot Lister, like I mentioned. We do it with a company called Synapse, which is scheduling for assistant directors. And we're, looking to do other sorts of integrations too. And if we could do it within Movie Labs ontology, where it's just one thing and we're not having to build all of these different things, then like, that's great. That's what we're looking to do.
Fascinating. No, this is pretty exciting just in terms of how some of these things are getting interconnected and integrated. In terms of your, so you talked about Game of Thrones, which is really scripted, episodic. You talked about SNL. What other genres are really sort of, where the application actually is the most?
Yeah. So mostly episodic and features because of the script revision problem. The SNL use case is because of last minute changes.
Of course.
So, they want to be able to push notes and share notes collaboratively with each other.
Right.
I was just on a call this morning with a gaming company.
Interesting.
So there are use cases for gaming that we're getting into. For people, there's a lot of sharing annotations, and I'm again, like, real-time annotation sharing is not what we do. We don't plan on getting into that. We believe your notes are your notes when you want to share them. So they're using, similar features where they share them when they want to share them. So gaming is a possible avenue. We've had people on Broadway use Scriptation. So, there are a lot of other use cases that we're sort of getting into. We're noticing that they're coming to us, and it's like, okay, like, tell us your use case, and we'll see if we can build features for that. It's
Got it.
kind of like on episodic and on features, what are the use cases of all the individual departments? We're also trying to, assess.
Okay.
We built lining tools for script supervisors because we noticed a bunch of people had come over from pen and paper because it's an easy transition to go from pen and paper to scriptation. Because
Right.
at a minimum, like we give you a PDF and a pen and we could move your notes. You could easily jump from pen and paper to scriptation. But then they wanted more. It's like, well, we want to be able to make lines easier and we want time code and we want things like that. It's like, okay, well, let's see what the users say. And we had a bunch of them and we developed features for them. So, there's some of like, here's what we want to do. And then there's a bunch that come in and, a bunch of users that tell us what they want. And then, we do those. So it's a good mix. You have to listen to your users.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And then the one aspect that I was curious about was also in terms of studios and large production houses. Do they sort of come in and do a bulk deal for a lot of projects that they currently are working on? Do they want a lot of this collaboration, productivity gains in those, or do you think that that could be a place where the industry needs a lot more education?
Yeah, I mean, so here's the issue with Scriptation specifically for studios is that we are a direct to consumer app that solves the problem of the people on production.
Yes.
And a lot of the studio people don't understand this problem. So I thought this was going to be a top-down thing when I first started. I
Right.
didn't know anything, right? I'm a writer. So I thought this was going to be a top-down solution. And when I was trying to explain the script revision problem to people at the studio who had never worked on a show, they weren't even understanding the problem.
Wow.
So how are they going to buy a solution? So the way it usually works is there's a bunch of people on the show that are using Scriptation, and then there's some security thing that comes on or somebody scares them with some security issue.
Right.
And they say, okay, Scriptation, now we need you to do something. So we offer them solutions. We have a solution called Team Studio, which encrypts the files essentially. And this is essentially what Game of Thrones used. It was like, oh, by the way, we have 3 weeks to figure this out because people on the production said that they need to use the software and it's vital to them. So now we got 3 weeks. So like, can you build something? So what we said is, well, we're not going to be able to make this connection with the software that you send out, but we'll tell you that if you get the script into Scriptation, you won't be able to get it out if that's what you want. Right. So, so we built this thing in 3 weeks and we don't have the system any longer exactly, but basically they had an iPad production assistant that would hand out the iPads and then take them back at the end of the day.
Wow.
Right. So it always goes back to the security thing.
Right.
Since then, we've built an enterprise solution that can do this on a web app where we have modular control over all sorts of different permissions. We've done all of these security assessments. We've passed them. We've been pen tested, all this stuff. So anyone that is super concerned about security can get our enterprise grade solution, which we built along with Apple TV, and they've deployed it to all of their productions. So we have this solution that studios can use, but it's a bottom up thing, right? And then it's a hurry up, like let's build this thing. So anyway, we have the offerings available for people, but it always comes from a security point of view.
Security point of view. That's fascinating. So that actually should be a great use case for studios, right? I mean, if you have paper floating around, you leave that at a bar after the shoot, there is a security hazard right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and people are wanting to use software like Scriptation or otherwise that's going to help them with their job. So if you want to make it secure on the distribution side and not have it be compatible with software like Scriptation, I'm not saying like only use it, but like software like Scriptation, and you're just walling it in. And now it's like, okay, well, now I can only print the script, or now I can only view it online. You're going to hurt the creative process. You're going to end up hurting the production. You're going to hurt the output.
Right.
So we need to be interconnected and talking to each other. And some companies in this space are good at that and open to that. And some companies, I'm not going to name them, the bigger ones, don't want to do that.
I could guess, but
yeah,
we could do that offline. Yes, but Apple TV is using your system, the enterprise system.
Yeah, they're using the enterprise system.
Fantastic. That's awesome. That is great to know. When people find Scriptation on the App Store, what are they searching for?
It's a good question. That is such a good question because we just asked that question yesterday.
Uh-huh.
because we're trying to optimize
Of course. Of course.
on there. So from our data, we are certainly getting them if they search other similar apps, similar production apps,
Uh-huh.
and they're coming across Scriptation, PDF annotation, notes on scripts, script notes, script supervisor tools, like all sorts of production-y things like that. That's how people are finding it. Some people are just searching Scriptation because they've heard it
Right.
before. Some people are finding it, from other websites. So there's 1,000 different ways to get there. But
Got it. Got it.
excellent question, because we just had a conversation on how we can optimize this, because for us to compete just in PDF annotation is difficult. And also you're going to get, how many people are searching PDF annotation, that cross section of the film and TV space. So it's certainly a challenge.
Right.
But we do marketing in several other areas. We have a big social media presence. We're connected with a bunch of guilds and organizations. So there's, 1,001 ways that, people are finding us. But yeah, we're always looking to optimize
Right.
that as best as we can.
I mean, my motivation to ask that question was also because, there are a host of people who are searching on Vitrina in our marketplace. And essentially, we are constantly sort of looking at what is the pain point that they are trying to solve for them to then land on in this case, Scriptation.
Well,
So
tell me some keywords and I will give
I
them to you.
I will certainly come back to you on some of those
That'll
aspects.
be a lot easier. I'll just go right to the source, not have to figure out the algorithm.
Again, for us, we are sort of looking at solving some of these problems for industry. And again, this is just a fascinating aspect for us to keep learning and understanding.
Yeah, it's certainly, I'm glad you reached out, because it is certainly a use case that is largely ignored, I would say, by upper level studio people. They're not thinking so much about it, but everybody on the production is. Like,
Right.
just think about a production. They're walking around with scripts in their hands. Like,
Yeah.
this is, in my opinion, biased, the big use case. But a lot of people are more thinking of like script writing to distribution to like, and then going through post. They're sort of missing that. They're all on the video. They're all operating up here. I just had this conversation. I was just at the HPA conference in Palm Desert.
That's right.
Um, and everybody was talking about this, and I have to be like, hey, there's this whole other use case, like a part of this system where
Right.
people are making notes in their scripts, pen and paper, annotating. There's so much data that is lost there, that is not
That's
kept.
right.
Think about the final draft file, just FDX going to a PDF. All of that data is lost.
It's lost. Yeah.
We're
And that
doing our best to interpret it.
right.
And then there's data built on top of it, then
Mhm.
that's lost.
Right.
So yes, there's a whole ecosystem. And I think a lot of people are missing the script. They just go like directly from distribution to posts.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, anyway, that's my voice. That's where I want to come.
That's right. That's right. No, this is absolutely fascinating. And then pricing. I mean, how is the app priced? And then I'm guessing that the enterprise one is something that's more sort of direct to the corporate that's actually sort of buying those licenses.
Yeah, the enterprise is custom based on some of the features that they want. So
Okay.
those deals are negotiated directly with us.
Right.
Our pricing, so we have 3 tiers. We have our direct to consumer app where you can buy an industry pro subscription. This is an Apple subscription. It works across all your devices. It's $99 a year,
Mhm.
which is very worth it. I mean, if it saves you 5 hours in a week, that
Exactly.
should be, it saves you 1 hour, that should be worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, how much is your time worth?
Right.
But so we have a free version that's available, and then you can get a subscription for $99 a year. We also offer a monthly subscription,
Okay.
$15 a month. We also have team licensing. This
Okay.
is sort of the mid tier, which is generally used by production companies that want to buy licenses. It's used by some shows too, if they want to get, batches of licenses, right? And they want to distribute them. And then we have our enterprise solution, which is sort of that full service, end-to-end modular solution that studios can have peace of mind that they could control their devices. And, if a device goes rogue, they could deactivate it, delete files.
Right.
They have some tracking of data in it that they could do. So, that's what the enterprise solution is for.
Got it. No, fascinating. Again, I'm sure a lot of folks who are listening to this podcast will typically sort of want to check it out. And this is super useful. Did you see usage go down during the strikes?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I think luckily for us, we're diversified. Again, being in the App Store, being available just to everyone overseas. So, we saw the other markets shoot up.
Showed
We
up, yeah.
we we ended up still having an up year even during the strike.
Wow. Wow. That is fascinating.
Yeah. So
And you
that
said
was
40% comes from,
40% is outside US and Canada. Yeah.
amazing. Amazing. That's really,
That helped us. And that's why, a lot of people have in mind, like, oh, B2B, get these big contracts. And yes, like big contracts,
of course.
great. I
Yeah.
have a couple.
Yeah.
I love them. Thank
Yeah.
you. But just being able to go direct to consumer and
Yeah.
have thousands of people
Right.
on a yearly subscription and just being that diversified as a business, I learned during the strike year was really important.
Fascinating.
And so we were able to, we didn't do well, but we still ended up versus the previous year. And it was all boosted by, not all, but mostly boosted by overseas.
International. Fantastic. I mean, that's amazing to learn and understand. Gen AI, friend or foe, is that been helpful? How's that changed your
We have one feature
Mhm.
when, all the AI stuff first came out with ChatGPT 2 years ago. We're like, all right, well, let's build a thing.
Yeah.
And we said, let's build it, with what our core feature is, which is what's the difference between these two, revisions of a script.
Yeah.
So we have a Gen AI feature that will tell you, in plain English, what the difference between this scene and this scene is. And we give it parameters and things like that. It's
Okay.
not very sophisticated, but
Okay.
that was the AI thing. So we put it out, had some feelers. People were like, oh, I don't, I feel uneasy about all this stuff.
Okay.
We tell you're not going to be trained on your data. We did all that stuff, right?
Right.
We did it as securely as we could, opt in, all of this. We got some pushback, but that's just new technology. People not sure what to do.
Yep.
So we did that. Currently, there's a bunch of different places we can go. So I won't reveal them yet, but we're working on one feature right now that we're having moderate success with. We're playing with some new things from OpenAI, their beta functionality, where we have people essentially living in the app on set and in production meetings. So we want them to be able to prompt AI and have them give intelligent answers back about the script. So we're working on certain features like that.
Interesting.
Now,
Wow.
other AI features that we could do that are out there already are automatic tagging.
Yes.
And there's another company that does that. I'm on the fence about automatic tagging of script elements.
Mhm.
I mean, my case for it is you'll have the automatic tagging and then you'll have to go through it manually anyway. I'm
Right.
not sure how much of a time saver it is, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Like you tag the script and then you got to read it anyway.
That's right.
But that's certainly something we can get into. We have line learning tools for actors. So using AI voices is something we're considering too.
Interesting.
There are apps that do that. Right now, we're using the iOS voices that Apple gives us,
Right.
which are not awesome.
Mm.
So we actually met a company that, forgetting their name, it's not 11 Labs, but there's another company in this space that does AI voices. So we potentially work with them. Oh, they're called Deep Dub, I think.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. So yeah, we may do an API connection with them to do AI voices, but I view it as, we want to augment, like it's going to be a value add. It's not going to replace. It'll just be like, do you want to do this better? Maybe. And we're going to try and help you maybe to do this better. But at no point what we build will replace what they're doing. It will always be an optional thing up that they can do. But, we have to go, this is the future, right? So we have to build
That's right.
tools that our customers want that will help them save time because that's the end of the name of the game, right? Let's build them tools that's going to save time and not build AI for the sake of building AI.
That's right. That's right. Got it. No, that's super useful. Again, I was curious coming into this discussion how Gen AI affects your business. The last two questions, Steve. One was relating to the Emmy Award. Tell us more about that. And then, of course, I do want to know about your outlook for 2025 and how do you see this year coming along. But let's start with the Emmy.
Oh, I love talking about the Emmy.
Please do.
Yeah, I used to have at my old place, I had it in the background and I don't have that now. So I am very sad about that. But eventually.
We will virtually put it.
No, I've got it. I have it on my desk.
Okay.
Just so, yeah.
Woohoo!
This is it.
Nice.
Yeah,
That
this is
looks
the Emmy.
smashing.
Well,
Amazing.
here's the best thing about the Emmy. To
Uh-huh.
be honest, if your company wins an Emmy, for anyone that wins an Emmy,
Okay.
instead of saying the industry leading app, the favorite app, the blah 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 app, just say the Emmy award winning app. It solves so much of your copy.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
amazing. So
Yes.
that's the best
Amazing.
thing about winning the Emmy. No. So yeah, we with engineering Emmys, for anyone that has a company that's listening, you have to submit. So you submit an application. Honestly, I don't even remember what was in the application, but it's about having a technology that's new that hasn't been done before.
Right.
So we submitted based on our note transferring technology.
Okay.
And that's what we won the Emmy for.
Fantastic.
And then, we had people write in, I think we needed 2 or 3 people to say they've used it and why this, is deserved of this. And then I had like an hour and a half conversation and I think a demo over Zoom
Wow.
of the software, how it worked. And then, yeah, I got a call one day that's like, hey,
You
you've
guys
been
are
selected.
nice.
Yeah, so it was a really, really awesome. You can't take that away from me.
No.
So, yeah, so that was really cool.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Congratulations on that, and really happy for Scriptation and you to have won this. And then that brings us to our final question. 25. What's your outlook both for the company as well as the industry? I know the industry is sort of also going through a fair amount of turmoil. You're right in the middle of a lot of scripts as they are being sort of dished out. What do you think?
I mean, I'm seeing an uptick
Okay.
in our users
Okay.
over the base.
Even in the US and Canada?
Yeah,
Okay. That's good.
yeah, productions are coming back. That's what we're
Nice.
seeing. That's what we're observing from our
Great.
data. They are moving out of Los Angeles.
Yes. Yes. That is true.
I wish I could pull this up, but a director friend of mine was at a DGA meeting and he was just asking me, what have you noticed? Because we're going to start talking about this.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me pull some data points that we have
Hmm.
from of our users. And man, they are really moving out of Los Angeles
Wow.
into other cities. They're moving into Atlanta, Texas. I got to look at the places they're moving. Yeah, that's really sad.
That's really sad.
Because I'm in Los Angeles. That's where I came, and yeah. But I am overall. I'm noticing more users coming back in the app. I'm hopeful for 25. I do think that productions are coming back, and I feel good about it. In terms of what Scriptation is doing for this year, we are working on AI.
Okay.
That is one of the primary focuses of this year. We want to see what we can build with it. We're trying what I hope is some really cool stuff and some valuable stuff.
Nice.
I just want to make sure that we get it right, which is hard to do.
Right. Right. Right.
I don't want the AI to I don't want the AI to hallucinate. I don't
Yeah.
want the AI to give bad info. I want the user to be able to ask the AI a question and have it give info or say, we don't have that info.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really challenging.
Correct.
Yeah. And then, we're trying to reach as many users as possible and tell people about Scriptation. And I think I've told our marketing team, I'm like, look, we're forever in a brand awareness campaign. So we joined TikTok.
Yeah.
We have
You're
people on
doing
TikTok.
Vitrina. You're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. We're just trying to get the name out there. So
That's
help
right.
us get the name out there.
That's right. Fantastic. Fantastic. No, this is great. Steve, I mean, you've got a really, really smart product. It's mission critical for the folks who are sort of on the production floor. And you tell a great story. I mean, just in terms of how you've been able to explain the platform for a lot of our listeners and users. I am hoping you have a great 2025 and you hear from a lot of Vitrina members, or they just go out and download the app from the App Store.
I'd love to hear from everyone. I'd also love them to download it, Scriptation in the App Store. You'll find it right away. But yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. This was really great.
Likewise, thank you so much, and from all of us at Vitrina and from our members, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.